knows at any moment it can get away if it wants to.
This octopus gets away all too soon. John thinks it may be a brand new species never seen before.
I don't know, Bob. I'm not sure what that is, but it could be a new one. I think it could be a new species. I wasn't expecting to see that.
It's not something you've seen before, huh?
No, no. I'm not sure what that would be.
It's a cool little critter.
Oh, wild.
The waters of Sulawesi are full of new discoveries, and one is an octopus designed with a special brand of disguise. It lives in the same waters as the banded sea snake, whose bold stripes announce its potent venom. These are banded arms that can make the same impression. When disturbed, the octopus flashes and intensifies the stripes, becoming a sea serpent, coiled and deadly. The creature has not yet been named by science, but it is known to be a fraud. It's a shy nocturnal octopus, and unlike the snake, its venom is virtually harmless. Its stripes are simply a ruse to intimidate would-be predators. The real killer is a delicate jewel-toned creature, the blue-ringed octopus. The flashing blue neon is no false alarm. Its poison can immobilize every muscle in the human body. There is no antidote. But all it's really after is a crab. The blue-ringed is notorious along the coast of Australia, but it's one of Dr. Mark Norman's favorites. As curator of marine invertebrates at Museum Victoria, his fieldwork in all 7 seas has revolutionized what we know about cephalopods.
It's really hard to estimate how many species of cephalopods, or in particular octopuses, we have worldwide, because we're still in the period of discovery. They thought there was about 100 species of octopus in the world, and we've found 150 new species in the last 10 years through the Indian and Pacific Oceans and Australia and up through Asia. And these groups of animals, it's not hard to find new species. Almost everything we touch is new.
Bob wants to get close to the blue ring in the wild.
So, Mark, this is a shortcut to the beach?
Yep, it's a great place to collect crabs.
Through the graveyard, eh?
Yep.
So are these the bodies of the people who have been bitten by blue ring octopus?
No, very few people have died from blue ring bites. He's more likely to have died choking to death on his calamari meal at the local pub.
So this is where the crabs live?
Yep, they hide up here at low tide under the rocks.
As the guide to the blue ring, Mark starts Bob off with their prey.
Lots of little crabs.
Yeah.
You need a nice juicy one. There you go.
Good claws on that. That'll take your arm off. It's an ironback crab. You can appreciate why the octopus has to get rid of the crab's claws as quick as possible. Knock them out. When the octopus bites them, it actually goes for those soft gaps in the junctions, like the elbows where the arm is a bit thinner, or else they bite them right on the eyeball, and the poison goes straight down the eyeball and into the brain, so they end up paralysing the animal instantly and putting these claws out of action.
The dive begins after dark, when blue rings are most active. And it's not off some wild remote beach. The deadly blue ring lives just beneath the town pier.
Blue ring octopus are an extremely venomous animal, and if I was to be bitten, I would probably be dead within 3 minutes. Your body would start stiffening up and you'd lose the capacity to breathe, you'd lose the capacity to wave or walk or run away, you'd run out of oxygen and you'd suffocate. But these little animals are really shy, really secretive, and the last thing they want to do is attack humans. They don't eat humans, they don't drag people out of their cars and drag them down the beach. They just feed on crabs.
But tonight, not even a crab could catch its attention. This is a male, and he's just found a female. 2 wild blue rings are preparing to mate. They keep their colors subdued to avoid attracting attention, especially from competing males. No flashing their electric blue. A temporary aquarium helps Bob film what happens next. After a few minutes of courtship, the male gently slips a special arm into the female's gill slit. He's depositing a packet of sperm, which she will use later to fertilize her eggs. It's the end of their relationship, and most likely the end of his brief life. That was all he needed to accomplish. Just beneath the very same pier is another cephalopod almost never seen in shallow water. New research finds that they too pack a poisonous punch. But their bright little stripes have earned them a harmless nickname, the pajama squid.
I think these cephalopods are the closest to the cartoon characters. Their little black and white suits and their little frilly lashes behind their eyes and the yellow on the top of the eyes, they're just straight out of a comic book.
The pajama squid seem to have taken a cue from the blue rings.
Males grab any passing female and then they try as hard as they can to reposition them so that they're face on, ready to mate, sort of suckers to suckers.
The mating season is also picking up off Australia's southwestern coast. In one small bay, giant cuttlefish have begun to assemble. They leave deep water and enter the shallows once a year for 3 to 4 weeks. The males are 3 feet and massive, with 8 flowing arms and 1 all-consuming purpose. A much smaller female takes refuge in the rocks. The males waste no time taking on their rivals. They flash and ripple with aggression. Their control is so subtle that they can isolate and flex just the flank facing the opposing male. The other flank communicates a solid, dependable side to any nearby female. one male has claimed her and takes possession. He'll guard her now, keeping her beneath him until she is ready to lay her eggs.
Jules, you around here somewhere?
Bob is heading for this far-flung coast, but before diving with these giants, he needs to brush up on the subtleties of cuttlefish communication.
This is a crazy place to meet a scientist.
Julian Finn is a leading expert on the intense social dynamics of the cuttlefish. He comes to this junkyard to scrounge up special equipment for an interesting experiment.
Hey, Jules. Over here, Bob. Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's
You into
lots
old
of stuff.
cars?
Oh yeah, I love them. I've got a number of old cars and plenty of treasures in this place.
Cuttlefish speak a visual language,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Julian
What do you got?
wants in on the conversation.
Cars, but also got a few ideas about making something to use on these cuttlefish in Whyalla, trying to get a bit of a different shot. So
Looks like junk to me.
Meanwhile, the cuttlefish continue to gather. Their complex communication escalates into a kaleidoscope of colors. Opponents toss each other in the rolling tide, and things start getting rough. The violence can rip up their all-important skin, sabotaging a male's chance to impress and intimidate. And someone's nursing a torn-off tentacle. In a temporary standoff, a large male guards his female from two other heavyweights, while a little male, too small to take seriously, hovers on the sidelines. The two males on shore get set to join the fray.
well, here you go, Jules. I just wanted you to know that my camera's bigger than yours. Mine's a bit different than yours, sir.
Well, yours has a hubcap on the front of it.
What I'm hoping to do is film the male's reaction to another male. But instead of having another male there, I'm going to have its reflection.
It's when males are the same size that trouble starts, and Julian will present one with its very own reflection. He's studying the displays and the intense competition. He intends to provoke a fight. He approaches a large male who immediately responds. The cuttlefish becomes increasingly absorbed with his own image, but instead of a conflict, the story takes a surprising turn. The small, unimpressive male has sneaked in and begun mating with the unguarded female. He's not signaled, nor flashed, nor dazzled. He simply grabbed the female for his own, making every attempt to look as much like her as possible. The aggressive male makes no headway with the mirror and finally moves off to resume his duties. But he's still distracted, still flashing, and doesn't recognize that his female is mating right under his nose. The little male looks so like another female, he doesn't see the threat. At last, he senses something's wrong and moves in to reclaim his female. To re-establish their relationship, he presents her with the gift of a crab. so much going on in cuttlefish society, Julian will be experimenting for a long time to come. Julian's attempt to interact with the cuttlefish and crack their code has given Bob a daring but dangerous idea. Deep in the waters of Mexico, the mighty Humboldt squid flash their own mysterious signals, and Bob is determined to dive with them again. He intends to engage these aggressive predators by imitating their behavior with a display all his own. Mark Norman and Julian Finn think he's close to crazy.
Sure, you've got the blue ring octopus that can kill you within a few minutes with a poison, yet there's something scarier about a squid that can rip off your flesh and tear out your throat, so to speak.
I think you'd be really sensible to work with shark cages with those animals, because the stories I've heard, and they're these massive animals that will effectively skeletonize a cow in a minute because they're such voracious predators.
Bob Cranston has no intention of taking this advice. His whole goal is to interact with these squid on their terms, in their world. In the small town of Santa Rosalia, on the edge of the Sea of Cortez, being a fisherman takes a certain courage.
We lose people every other year. Somebody dies. I had a friend that they found floating in the ocean last year. It's lucky they found him because they're carnivorous. They'll eat you. I mean, they will eat you. The squid will eat you. The squid will eat you. If you fall into the ocean, they'll get you with their tentacles. You'll drown, and then they'll, all the rest of them will just eat you.
Despite their dread, these fishermen face the Humboldt on a nightly basis. Bob will need their help if he hopes to find when and where the squid are rising.
Alberto.
When the Humboldt flash on and off, Bob intends to flash right back.
Yo no sé. This is a flashlight, big flashlight for squid. We're gonna... Estos locos, see?
Bob knows perhaps better than anyone just what Humboldt are capable of. But it's not fear that he feels. It's an intense fascination for such alien creatures in a world so different from our own.
For me, there's just something about these animals. Maybe it's because this type of diving in itself is a great challenge. It's hard to work at these depths. I've managed to go down and physically touch these fantastic creatures, but somehow they're the ones that have taken a hold of me.
He's 12 miles from shore. Aside from his assistant cameraman, there'll be no backup down below, and no source of help at all topside. There's not so much as a radio on this little boat.
These are small boats. It's a big ocean. There's a language barrier between me and the fishermen who think I'm crazy to dive in the water anyway. If I disappear and drift away from this boat, the fishermen will just think the squid ate me and they won't even bother coming to look for me.
Yet Bob has confidence in his own experience and in his plan.
I've made up this light tube and filled it with strobe lights. The idea is that the Humboldt squid flash for communications. They flash at each other, they flash at the divers, and so I hope to elicit some kind of a reaction from these animals with this light tube.
Beneath the boat lies 1,000 feet of open water and sea monsters. Descends, his homemade lightsaber a beacon in the utter darkness. Right away, there's a complete surprise. Mobile arrays. They're seldom seen in a school like this. Already the night has taken on unexpected possibilities. With his depth gauge reading 150 feet, Bob figures he's in squid waters. He powers up. A giant swarm of pink krill mobs the lights. Suddenly, Bob's in the middle of a midnight feeding frenzy. Then, rocketing up from below, Humboldt squid. Flashing red and white. Bob tries to get clear of the krill into better visibility. And he's caught the squid's attention.
Transfixed by this enormous eye up from the deep. I can sense this creature thinking, but I can't imagine what.
A minute later, contact. The squid grabs hold, testing the light the only way it can.
The feel of hard plastic must come as a surprise, and it circles me as though curious. Then, it comes back for more. This time, the aggression is gone. It just seems interested. Amazing. Play for a moment. Then suddenly, it's over. The fishermen are relieved just to see me alive. But I climb back in the boat, knowing something remarkable has just happened. I danced with the devil down in the deep, and I'm already thinking about the next dive.
It's certain that Bob will return to dive again with the mysterious Humboldt, perhaps with a new strategy on how to make contact. He's just at the beginning of this extraordinary quest. But who will he meet next time in the waters below? Friend or foe?